nothing, it has nothing strong to say about you. So now is the time to start, informing your letter writers. Try to arrange a meeting or a phone call or whichever way. It's not just okay to just send someone a text message, except you're on very good terms with them, and just say, hey, I'm applying, can you write me a letter? Except you're on very good terms. I would suggest you make a phone call, or if you're able to meet the person, face to face, that's okay, or a phone call, and just, let them know that you're applying and you need a strong letter. And what a strong letter is, you can just give them an idea, and you'll be more than happy to provide a draft and your CV, which will make it easier for them to have, make the letter. Then you could follow up with them, once weekly, a gentle reminder and everything. But try to get all your letters uploaded by, I would say, our first week of September, since 29th is when ERAS is opening. You want all your letters in, because at times it takes a few days to upload. So pretty much each program will need at least 3 letters.
Right.
I'm sure we'll have specific sessions for letters where we could talk about what to upload and how to upload it. So the next thing I'm going to talk about are CVs. So you're only as good as what your CV says. That's the truth. I mean, you may have done so many fantastic things in your life. If it's not your CV, I'm not going to know. Yeah, that's the same thing. The program directors are not going to know, your achievements, milestones and everything, if you're not able to word them directly, put them in the right way and put them on paper. They are not, they're not soothsayers who are able to look into the future or the past and say, I know this person must have done all this. So your CV is a good, in fact, that's the only formal way of really representing yourself, because it's your CV that sells you before you get the interview. You don't want to wait until I get the interview and I want to sell myself. You want to get the opportunity to even get the interview in the first place. So your CV is definitely something that you shouldn't neglect. You should not wait until the last things. You should start writing your CV now, because trust me, a lot of your experiences are going to be your past experience. Don't say I'm waiting until I finish this observership next month and I'll write my CV. No. Start writing now, because you probably would have finished medical school. You may have done house job. You may have done youth service. You may have done 1 or 2 observation. You may have worked on, some research projects. You may have done some volunteer experience. Start putting them down on paper. Give them to different people to review, because people are able to give you structured feedback, which will help you improve on the words. The way you write your CV also says a lot. 2 people could have done house job, and the way one person represents the information says more than the other person, and makes them more catchy. So definitely your CV, you should start writing them now. I believe that most people might have like a draft, especially if you applied for prior jobs before. Even in Nigeria, you needed a CV. So you need to at least get that structure, start working on it. ERAS has a template for their CV, start filling in things, giving to people to give their feedback. As you do more things before application, then you fill them in. Always ensure that things are up to date. You don't want to leave very large gaps. Anything above 6 months might be questionable. I'm not saying it's a no, but anything above 6 months, you want to avoid such large gaps, especially when you're not going to be there to explain it. So CV is also something that, is one of the top things that one should really work on when talking about ERAS application. So the last thing here, MSP I mentioned earlier, MSP for international graduates. I don't know if it really plays much role, but it's for some schools, they allow us to upload by ourselves. My school, all they did, I just sent a letter and they gave me my MSP and I uploaded by myself. So you need to find out from people who have graduated from your school, what's the protocol. Does your school upload your MSP, or can you upload it yourself? So if it's something your school uploads, you have to follow up with your school. You know how Nigerian schools can be. They can give you excuse for Africa. So you have to follow up with your school and, let them know on time. You should start disturbing them now that they should upload, start uploading your MSP. But if it's something that you can upload yourself, request it through the right channels, get your MSP and upload it. I don't know. I don't know if that thing makes or breaks anyone. I can't really say much, but I know for international graduates, it's not as strongly held because the way we represent our information is kind of different. So, but just request your MSP because your application is not complete until you get that as well. Then networking. So, yeah, we should never get tired of talking about I'm applying, I'm interested in this, any way you could be of any helpful feedback to me. Networking is not just all about the person that will help you get an interview. It could be in different ways. You might meet people who might even give you like opportunities either for observership. You might meet people who might give you opportunities to have letters written. You might meet people who give you opportunities who make very good impact on your application, reviewing any part of your application, and also people who will be willing to put in a word for you. So it's a lot of faces. So we should definitely don't just keep your mouth shut and just say, I'm not trying to be proud and say I'm applying for USM. Nope. Talk to people, especially people you feel who may be able to help you. At times it's just random people. I know when like I was applying, I spoke to like people in my church, and like I was really lucky. I found someone who introduced me to someone. I mean, it didn't lead to an interview, but it helped me develop my application. So just talk to people and let them know what you're going through, and you don't know who's gonna really help you. Try to connect through forums, like Kenji and other different forums. People are breaking in even on LinkedIn and other things, but you can reach out to people and try to make the best of your application. I know this is probably a lot, but we're gonna all work through this journey together and help each other whichever way we can. I probably would stop here and allow Tino to take over, and we can still talk more.
Well, thank you so much, Nneka, for that wonderful breakdown. Before we head over to Tino, I think we should just take any follow-up questions for you specifically, maybe for the next 2-3 minutes, and then head over to Tino. Does anyone have questions for Nneka? Okay. Looks like we have no questions. All right, Tino, over to you. Please tell us your story. Give us your idea of what the ERAS application is about, your general overview, and things we should be focusing on right now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I just made some notes. So thank you, Kenji, first of all, for the opportunity to be here. Nneka, thank you so much for that really detailed overview. I think you really mentioned a lot of the points regarding ERAS applications. I'll just add a few things so that, I won't talk too long so that we have time for more questions and discussion. So using Nneka's template, so about your exams, I know the CS is no longer a thing, I think at least for now. So definitely because I wrote OET, I was kind of part of the people who went through the whole transition of, no CS versus CS versus no CS, and then OET came up. Last year when we were doing OET, it was actually really difficult, booking a spot. But I think that's much better now. You can, book a spot for OET with no problems. So just make sure you have your step 1 to CK and OET on time. And the timeline is a little tricky because it's not just about having the exams. You also have to be certified via one of the pathways that ECFMG has, brought out. So, and that takes, I think, another maybe 2 or 3 weeks. So make sure if you haven't gotten all your exams done, make sure everything. Okay, Brenda, can you let me know when exactly the portal is opening for PDs to access the application? When is that?
Yeah, that's the 29th of September.
Okay, 29th of September. So 29th of September really is your deadline. So you have to make sure you're certified before that 29th, ECFMG certified. I know some people who have applied without ECFMG certification. But I would say you want your application to be complete. So if you're thinking of applying for this cycle, make sure you're ECFMG certified. That means you have to take all your exams at least by August. And ECFMG certification, I think, takes an extra maybe 1 or 2 weeks. I remember OET takes about, I think, 3 to 4 weeks to come out. So all these things have to be factored in your timeline so that you don't get stuck. So make sure, as Nneka said, that you're ECFMG certified and all your results and certifications are ready so that by the time you're applying, it's complete, at least regarding your exams. If you can do step 3, it's a bonus. I know there's some people who have done ECFMG certification and are still reading for step 3 or have done step 3. That's perfect. If you have the opportunity to do step 3 before the September 29th deadline, well, it's not really a deadline, but that's September 29th, date, please do it also. It adds to your application. So letters of recommendation, everything Neka said was perfect. The only thing I would add is that if you have an opportunity to do an in-rotation observership, or externship or whatever they call it, please take it, because during the application sometimes things will come up like, oh, okay, fine, you did clinic rotations, you observed under someone in a outpatient setting. Have you done inpatient? So if you have an opportunity to do inpatient rotations, I know it's pretty hard with COVID and hospitals not kind of opening up to externships or whatever, but if you do, please take that opportunity, because it really adds to your application, because some PDs will request for that. Because like when I was networking and I was asking people and reaching out to people were like, oh, did you do any in-person rotation? And I was like, no. So they're like, yeah, our PD doesn't look at applications without in-patient. So I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's just an extra thing. And then for ERAS, something happened to me last year where I thought, so I gave my letters of recommendation people, the people who are writing my letters, a very close deadline to the opening of the portal. So literally, they were submitting my letter of recommendation like 2 or 3 days before the portal was opening, and that was a big mistake, because it takes about a week, 5 days, for your letter to actually be uploaded. So I could not submit my ERAS application until it was cleared. I don't know, for some reason, ERAS wants to look through your letters, make sure they're correct and everything. So it takes some time. So don't just think that, oh, I got my letter, it's uploaded, I'm fine. It takes about 3 to 5 days, almost 6 days sometimes, if there are too many letters at the same time. So always factor in all these extra time. So that's why it's good to start early. Honestly, if you can submit your application before 1 or 2 weeks before the deadline, that's just perfect. But just know that in everything that you're doing, there's always you need to always give buffer time, because it's not always automatic that a document or whatever comes up into your application. Then what else? Okay, so networking, that's very, very important. I know definitely I got maybe 2 interviews, I think, through networking, and networking can be literally anyone. In my case, I got one interview from a family friend that honestly, I didn't even know she remembered me. I've not seen her in like almost 20 years, and I was like, okay, she did residency at this place. Let me just reach out to her on LinkedIn, on Facebook. I just reached out to her, and she was able to get me an interview at her old residency spot. So networking is like, honestly, at this point, to tell everybody, every family member that has someone that did residency, that has a knowledge of residency, anything. You can't even let your pride get into this situation. So you have to talk to almost everyone that has experience with this, that has either is doing residency, has done residency, or know somebody who did residency. You don't know where that that contact can come up. Then I think my last point would be, always make sure you give buffer time. Honestly, you have to give buffer time for exams, for everything, and always have some people lined up to review your personal statements, to review your application, because you might even make mistakes that you didn't even notice. So, and all those things take time. It's not just automatic. So always make sure you have that buffer time. And then when it comes to programs that you want to apply to, I think this is just something extra. You can ask people who applied last year. For me, I was already more than 5 years out of school. So there were particular programs that I was not even going to bother applying to. Though some people say, oh, apply to everything that literally is a program, apply. Well, if you have the money and the budget to apply to everywhere, fine, apply. But if you don't have the budget, you have to be more strategic with your application. So you can talk to people who applied, the year before. Most people have a list of places that they apply to that fit their own criteria. So some places don't take people that are more than 5 years, more than 3 years out of med school. So, if you go and apply there, you might be wasting your money. I wasted my money, but I was fine wasting it, because I was like, okay, fine, maybe there's a chance. But I did apply to too many of those programs that would say, okay, 1 year out of school, don't apply, or 2 years out of school. I applied to a few, but not all. But most of the programs I applied to were the ones that still accepted people that were 5 years and above. I mean, less than 5 years or whatever. Yeah, so just kind of go through people's list and also check their websites for their requirements. Yeah, so those were most of the points that I wanted to add. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tinu. That was amazing. And just as a follow-up to your last point, you mentioned that it's important to apply to as many places, but at the same time, we have the financial constraints. So is there like a process for identifying programs that meet your, like programs whose requirements you meet? And how does one go around that? Like, do you just use random lists that people have recommended, or is there a process for selecting those programs once you get your token?
Oh, are you talking to me or to Neka? Oh, both of us, sorry.
Yeah, who was that? I guess you could go first because
Okay.
you mentioned the point about choosing programs.
Okay, so there's something called Residency Explorer. I can't remember. There's that. So for that, I think that one was maybe the most useful to me. I kind of entered all my like points, everything about me, and then they kind of would tell me which, like if I click on a program, if I go to Georgia and I look at all the programs in Georgia, for example, I'll see which of the programs kind of fit my profile versus the ones that are like totally out of my profile. So that's one thing to explore. There's also there's another website. What? Oh,
Yeah,
Nick,
there
I
is
do remember the other website. What's it called?
match your residence.
No, not Match Resident. There's another one.
Frida?
Yeah, Frida, exactly,
Yeah.
Frida. So I use Frida to check, and then literally I was just going by states and seeing, okay, this program. I mean, it's again, it takes time. You have to actually sit down for at least a week to kind of go through your program list. But I just kind of use Frida. I use Resident Explorer. I use, old people's list, people that had applied. I also saw some people's list online. I also looked through that, and then from there, I kind of went to different states. I was like, okay, this hospital kind of fits my profile. I checked their website, and then I applied there. So it was kind of a mix of both, of everything. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Nick, do you have anything to add to what Tinu said?
Um, not really. Because really selecting your programs, it's a huge part of your application. Because if you end up applying to the wrong 100, the chances of you getting an interview is very, very minimal. So selecting programs is actually a tedious process. I underestimated that because it's time consuming. So now is the time. Frida arranges all programs alphabetically. That's a lot of work, but you could also reach out to friends, especially people who have similar profiles. When I say similar profiles, maybe their scores are similar to yours, year of graduation are kind of similar, and their experience are kind of similar, and they applied and got interviews in some of those places, or they applied there. So there are chances that maybe that same program will also consider someone like you, since your portfolio is similar. So Frida is going to be your number one base because that's our normal ERAS base. Then reaching out to friends or other people who have applied for program lists they used. People who kindly has this match body, which we do. So where Dr. O links people who have similar profiles with you, who are also going to be applying to the same specialties. So you could also work with a person. You guys could come up with a list and try to arrange them. I also did something extra for some programs because when I applied, I was already more than 5 years. So for some programs, which just said, okay, preferred those less than 5 years. They did not say like we do not take application. They just said preferred. I reached out to the programs. I either called or sent emails before August, September, because by that time they get very busy, and some of them, peaked. I just called the number then. I'm like, hey, I want to apply to your program, or I'm, currently 6 years out of school, and I saw you prefer 5 years. Are you going to view my application? Some of them are going to tell you right there, do not bother. There's an automatic filter that takes everyone out, so I don't waste my money. Some are like, yeah, we consider every application on a case-by-case basis, and I go ahead to apply. So those gray areas, that's why it's always good to start early. Then you can reach out to them and ask them, what's your take on this? I don't, you're not going to tell them I don't want to waste my money, but indirectly you're saying I don't want to waste my money if you're not going to, look at my application. And at times, or at least 85% of the places I got a feedback. It's just a very few, and I did it before things got very crazy around, August, September, I would say. but by that time they're not like picking calls again and they're not like responding to emails.
Okay. Thank you so much. You guys, this was organized for you to ask your questions, to understand what this whole ERAS thing is about. You have two very knowledgeable people here. Please make use of them. Ask questions if you have questions. Okay. Looks like we don't have any questions yet. Okay. Well, I do have a question. What's the financial budget for this if someone is going to be applying to only one program and maybe like only one residency, so like one specialty and maybe close to 100 to 120 programs? What would you recommend the budget for financially?
Senior, how are you take?
So
Okay,
so I think I applied to 125 programs. 125. So I actually plan on doing like 100. But as I was like, going through my list, I was like, okay, you know what? Let me add this one. Let me add this one. As I'll talk to this person, and this person say, okay, apply, and then I'll add it. So I ended up having 125, and then I think the total was about $3,000. That's for 125 programs. That was 3,000, I think. Yeah, about 299 or something. I think I'm really not sure how they do it, but I think for the first maybe 50 programs is like a set fee, and then every additional program is maybe $25 or something. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but oh yeah. So there was one thing I wanted to say. Once the token is open, please, that's the time to make sure you get your MSPs in. A school like my own, University of Ibadan, they like stories. I love UI, but honestly, sometimes like my heart is always beating very fast anytime I have to get anything from them. So if you know you need to get anything from your school, make sure immediately the portal opens sometime in June. Make sure that that's like the first thing you're doing and reaching out to your school. Yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, awesome. We have a question. Someone says, how early can you apply for the pathways? Does anyone know? Tino, I guess you would know this better since the pathways were set up during your application season.
Yeah, you can apply now. It's already open. You can apply now as long as you have everything ready.
Yeah. And just to reiterate what Tino said, you can apply now. You log on to the website, you pay the $900, and once you take your OET, it gets linked to that pathway, and then what else gets linked? I think, let me see.
Letter of good standing.
Yeah, your letter of good standing. So those are the two things you need for pathway one, I believe. And so once those get pulled into your pathway, then you would be cleared for pathway one. I roughly remember that's what it is about. Okay.
Sorry, good evening everyone from Nigeria. Just in continuation of what you just said, I applied for the pathway one. I've done all the required exams in step 1 to CKOET and was just approved on Friday. Am I going to get a certificate, an electronic certificate I can use to either apply for step 3 or submit via ERAS application?
Okay, so are you asking about step 3 registration?
No, I'm basically asking how to get the ECFMG certificates. Are they going to send it to my email, or how do I I'll get it from overseas?
Oh, okay. So the ECFMG certificate, once it's approved, it's usually mailed to you, FedEx, whatever address you put. I think it takes about 3 weeks to get the the mail. It's hard copy.
The mail. Okay. That's what I want to find out. Okay, thank you very much.
For step 3, and for step 3, like if you're now going on to apply for step 3 and like apply for the exam, it's already in your system that you're ECFMG certified, so you don't need any extra certificate like to upload or anything. It's already on your ECFMG status that you are certified. Yeah.
Okay, so I can apply if I've been approved the ECFMG certificate, yes. So I can just go ahead and apply for step 3. Okay. All right, then. Thank you very much.
You don't need anything. Yeah.
All right then. Okay.
I see Cecilia is asking about CVs and she's saying she's confused. We do have Ochuko here. Ochuko would be happy to share more about the templates, the CV templates. So I guess that would clear your confusion, Cecilia. Ochuko, if you're ready, you can share what you have for us, please. Ochuko, are you still here? Okay. Well, if Ochuko isn't here, Tinu or Neka, would you like to answer
Yeah,
that
I'm
question?
here.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, everyone. Good afternoon. How's everyone doing?
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us.
Okay, awesome. So I have the ERAS 2021 application worksheet. So I'm going to try and share that so that we know exactly what we're working with, what information you do need to get. You need to start looking for prior to the whole ERAS system opens up. So Cecilia, for your question, so ERAS basically has a template where you would input everything that you would normally have on your CV. So your bio data, your work experiences, educational experience as well. Everything is going to be on there. So can you guys see the worksheet? I'm not sure what's showing right now. Is it the worksheet I shown, Brenda?
It's blank.
No.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
I don't think I can see anything.
same.
Nothing. Um, yes, I have to figure it out. Sorry, y'all.
So I just want to add. So regarding the CV, I remember last year when some folks on Kenji were talking about CV and the format. For example, let's say you did house job at military hospital or whatever. Just don't just say I did house job and I was doing this. There's a particular way you have to write it. Like military hospital, 100 or 200 bed, 1,000 bed, whatever. Like you have to be kind of specific, and maybe that's what Ochuku wants to show you. There's actually a particular way you need to phrase your experience so that it makes it, it looks like you really did something, fantastic. And I'm pretty sure Kenji has that template. Yeah, just wanted to add that.
Was the ERAS worksheet showing? It was something else again.
It did. Now
Yes,
it's
it was
gone.
showing.
Oh, that's what
Yeah,
was
it's
showing.
gone
Okay,
now.
all right. Sorry, my computer has 1001 things open up, so.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what we're saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So I did put a link. Okay, thank you. I did put a link of this on the chat box so everyone can also take a look and familiarize yourself with it, right? So first thing, just like every other thing, you'll have to fill in your bio data. So name, sex, email, birthday. You can choose to authorize to release your birth date or not. It really doesn't matter. America is they do not discriminate based on age, so that would not matter. Current mailing address. The current mailing address. A lot of times, people that stay outside the country, outside the US, use a US address for mailing because it's way easier for programs or for ERAS to reach you via that. But during the application season, they really do not send any mails. So I don't think that would matter much. But if you have a US address, you can use that for your current mailing address. Then your permanent address would be your Nigerian address or wherever you're located. Currently authorized to work in the US. If you're not currently authorized to work in the US, that would be a no. If you're a US citizen, permanent resident, refugee, asylum, yes, that would be a yes. And if you do need sponsorship from ECFMG, then definitely that would be a yes. They would have you select H1B or J1 visa, but this is something that you can deal with at the end of the day when you've matched and you're dealing with that program, whether it's J1 or H1B. So you can go, it doesn't matter much basically. Yeah. If you're a US citizen, green card, you don't have to bother about that. NRMP match, yes, that is something that you want to participate in. So most programs do work with the NRMP match. So after you apply for ERAS, after the interviews, then there is a whole matching system, right? That's why people say they've matched. So that is being handled by the NRMP. So where you rank your programs rank you, and at the end of the day, you know where you matched into. So that you definitely want to click a yes for it. And the NRMP ID, you get that when you register for the NRMP. So you can do that at any time during the application season. They do have a deadline where after the deadline, you would have to pay late fees for it. Brenda, I don't know if you're sure what that date is.
I'm not sure.
Yes. So you want to do you want to make that payment before the deadline, and then if it's before your application, if it's before you submit your application, you can put in your ID here. If it's not, that's also fine as well. By the time you are ranking your programs, you can also put in your ID. But you want to note the deadline so you can pay the money and get your ID before the whole ranking system opens up. Now, it has happened in the past where somehow people forget about the NRMP and every interview basically goes voided. Like it doesn't count because you're not participating in the match if you do not have the NRMP ID number. So very, very important. I know last year on KNG, people were sending out reminders, ensure you've done this, ensure you rank, ensure you submit. So that is very important. So now the programs that are outside this match system, that's where you hear pre-match. So pre-match, some programs choose to do that, so they do not work with the whole matching system. So they interview you, they like you, and then they go ahead and they offer you the job. I think it's a very exciting thing because some people, their whole journey can end in October, right? Because by October, they've gotten a job offer, they're home, November, that's it. So if you pre-match into a program, then the NRMP doesn't matter much, but you don't know where you're going to end up at the end of the day. So definitely do get the NRMP ID number. Urology match, that is, they have their own different matching system. So if you're going into urology, that's where the urology match is required. Additional information, USMLE ECFMG ID number, that's what most of us international medical grads would have, or all of us international medical grads would have. So go ahead and fill that in. Then we have ACLS, PALS, BLS. I am of the opinion that you want to try as much as possible to fill in everything. So there are sites where you can do a free ACLS training, all that training. There are sites where you can do it. So definitely do get it done and tick yes that you are certified and put your expiration date. It really doesn't matter much. By the time you match it to a program, they would have you do they would ensure that you do the American Heart Association certified ACLS and BLS training or whatever training applies to your program. So where you get it from right now doesn't matter. So just get a free one somewhere. I know we do have a link on the Match Support group. So you can get a free one and fill in those details. Sigma Phi, Alpha, Omega, Alpha status, Gold status, that applies to US medical students. So if you are a US medical student, you can go ahead and fill that in. Self-identification. This is basic, just select what applies to you. Most people go for the African American or African. If you're other Black, you can also choose that as well. And if you prefer not to choose anything, you can also do that. So personally, I like to choose that so that in case there's a program that is interested in diversity, they would see that, there's a Black person coming. Language fluency. There is an option for, there's English, which most African people are good in. So there's English, and then a lot of people now also click this Kru, Igbo, Yoruba. That's what they have for the Nigerian languages. Of course, if you're fluent in any other language, you can go ahead and choose it. They would also have you select how fluent you are. If you're advanced, good, fair, if you're native, you just basically choose that. Military information, if you are in the military, that is something for you. And on here, hobbies and interests. Coming from Africa, Nigeria, hobbies doesn't really matter much, but here in the US, they are interested in, the kind of person that you are, and that comes out through what your hobbies are. A good number of my interviews, that's one question that they ask. Tell me about your hobbies. Okay, I see you do this. So you want to put something that is interesting, try and characterize what it is you're putting. So rather than just writing reading, write, what exactly it is you read. So you like reading thrillers, you watch TV shows. What type of TV shows is it? Traveling, where do you travel to? What kind of traveling? Right? You want to try and describe somewhat what it is. And then some specialties, they like some characteristics, so you might also want to take notes of that. I remember going through programs and I'll see a lot of people were camping. So I had camping on there. I do like camping sometimes. Yeah. But then it's also a good conversation to have during the interview when you talk about. But whatever you have there, you need to be able to talk about it, because one of my interviews, it was, okay, did you go camping? So you should be able to talk about it. Hometown or towns, right? So that's also a topic for discussion. So if you are familiar with more than one place, you've stayed in more than one place, you should go ahead and put it. You don't know which one would work out well with your interviewer. So when we say hometown in Africa, we think it's our exact village, right? But for here, it's about where you grew up in, mostly where you're familiar with. So personally, I had my village, I had where I grew up. Yeah, I think I had where I grew up basically, then I had where I stayed here in the US. So, yeah, like maybe 3 places. So it was a conversation point. Oh, I see you, this is your hometown. So how's that place like? I've been meaning to visit it, right? So it's something to talk about. It makes you more interesting and gives your interviewer something to talk about. Moving on to higher education. So this section is for undergraduate and graduate school you have attached, right? But here they stated, since most non-US educational systems do not follow the US model, almost all students and graduates of international medical schools will indicate none. So you can go ahead and indicate none, right? Because most times we do just medical school, which is under here for medical education. You can go ahead and click that. But if you do have a master's, I think this is where it comes in, because that is your higher education. If you do have a PhD, then yes, definitely that should go on there. And you come down here and you do your medical education. Now, feel free to put from what month and year, like beginning to the end, the actual time. I know with ASU and every other thing with international medical grads, it might be more than that 6 years, but that same information is already being covered by ECFMG. It's going to be on your MSPE, so just put what it really is, right? Then additional information, they have membership in honorary and professional societies. So these societies include your Nigerian Medical Association, includes American Medical Association. If you are going into a specialty, and you can join their association also try and do that. Other ones that you can join, people have on their CMDA. Here in the US, there's the American Association of Nigerian Physicians in Americas, right? That's also something that you can have on there. Basically, nothing is too small, right? So any professional society that you are a member of, I personally kept in medical, just go ahead and put it on there. Medical school awards, Africa and Nigeria, they don't give a lot of awards, but please try and put, your awards on there. Like if you're going to give an award in your school, they would have given you for something, right? So outstanding leadership in organizing Health Week, best graduating students in a particular subject, distinction in a particular subject, all those should go in there. Other awards and accomplishments in your volunteer organization. Did you get an award there? You can put it there in your community. What did you get? You can also go ahead and put it there in your church. You can go ahead and put the other awards and accomplishments on there. It basically tells them what kind of person they are interviewing or they are going to meet. So training, yes. So this place is for prior AOA, internship, residency, fellowship, residency once again. So this is the American residency as well as MD and DO residency, right? So for persons that have done residency in Nigeria or currently doing residency, this would not necessarily count. If you're currently in a residency, you're applying for your PGY2 position or planning to change specialty, then yes, this can go in here. You can have that information on here. But if it's training from outside the country, then yes, that would be none. Going down is experience. Experience is kind of like a very important part. I don't want to say it's the most important part, but it is very, very important. This is something that you want to start putting together now, just because you have done a lot of things in your life. You are going to forget some of them. So you want to try and start putting it together so that, you get in as much as possible. If you are doing your application the night before, you're definitely going to miss some things that you've done, or 2 weeks before you miss some things. So this experience includes clinical and teaching experience should be treated as work experience. Then all unpaid extracurricular activities and committees should be volunteer experience. So you have work experience, there's volunteer experience, there's also research experience as well. I think that goes at the bottom. There's also research experience as well. So you want to ensure that everything is on there. So work experience can start from house job. After house job, worked as a medical officer. Most times for house job, people tend to keep everything as one experience. But in your description, that is where it really matters. So experience type will be work experience, organization will be the hospital, position will be house officer, supervisor, go ahead and put your supervisor's name, anyone will be fine. The country, the state, the city, average hours per week, you can go ahead and put this on there. Now for description, the way you write is very, very important. So you do not want to write, I delivered 50 children, right? So you want to be descriptive. You want to use action words. I'll try and also put that on the group. So you organized, you in charge of carrying out this, and you want to be descriptive with numbers as well to be able to quantify what you did, right? Responsible for taking care of this number of patients and how big is the hospital. So you want to be descriptive. It lets them to be able to understand, the gravity of what you did during that time, right? You want to state what specialties that you were involved in. So I worked with this specialty, that specialty, and this specialty. It was in maternal child care. It's also going to be able to tell your story, especially, you're going into a specialty. So you want to highlight that this is what you know about that particular specialty, right? So you're going into pediatrics. So you did adolescent, you did child, neonatal. You want to put everything on there. And then also have the supervisor that you worked with. That's also very important. So reason for leaving could be completed training, completed program. Yeah, I think that's what I had a lot. Completed program, change of job, change location. That would be reason for leaving. I know last year someone had something like was he got married or left to meet my husband. Yeah. So you want to be professional when you're writing what the reason is. So now dates of experience, go ahead, put the month and the year. Now, just so you know, some of this would clash, right? Just because at a particular time you would be doing multiple stuff while working in the hospital, you can also be volunteering. Or for people that do observerships, you might have multiple observerships at a time, right? Or maybe you did an observership just for 1 month or 2 weeks. You did an observership for 2 weeks. Now, this does not have an option for the particular day or the week. So it's going to be from June to July 2021. Now, you're still going to come and put another job experience that is from that same June to August. So it's fine if it clashes. Your average hours per week will be able to state, how much you were able to do. So observerships will also be work experience. Externships will also be work experience, right? So you can go ahead. There's option to continue adding as much as possible. So nothing is too small, nothing is too big. Just go ahead and add everything that you did. So here, was your medical education or training extended or interrupted? It's a yes or no. If it was interrupted, you want to be able to say what the reason is, right? So if you did strike, if it was strike or, mostly strike, ASU strike, hospital strike, it wasn't interrupted, it wasn't extended. That is it. Now, reason for interruption could be taking off time to financial instability, to taking off time to get money together. It could be due to failing a particular exam, so you lost 1 year. So you want to go ahead and provide what the details for that. Licensure, this will be applicable for US state license. So you go ahead and add that in if you already have it. So has your license been revoked, terminated, malpractice case? Please, you want to be truthful on here. If you have a felony, malpractice, go ahead and put that and explain. So you also want to give a good explanation. If you're going to answer yes to any of these questions, you want to give a good explanation for it. So now publications has every single option for any type of research. So it could be oral presentation, it could be articles and abstracts that you actually got submitted and was published. You want to put this on here. Other than published, you just did it, but you presented it at a seminar. You want to go ahead and put it on there. Peer-reviewed book chapter, if you did a chapter for first aid or for any other book, it goes on there. Scientific monograph, you put that on there as well. Other articles, so other articles I had oral presentation. Okay, yeah, there's still an option for oral presentation. Okay, so other articles, if there's any other type of article you publish in a magazine or medical article, you can put that on there. Poster presentation, oral presentation. I went back all the way to year 4, what I presented. So go ahead and put any presentation that you did, especially when it tallies with the specialty that you're going into, right? So put the presentation, author, presenter. So go ahead and put everybody's name, especially if you're not the first author, if you're not the only author. Put everybody's name until it gets to yours. Event or the meeting, country, state or province, city, month or year. And Just so you know all this, you should be prepared to talk about it. It is an interview question. Oh, I see you did this. Can you tell me more about this? Can you tell me about your research? Oh, I see you're able to do this. You should be ready to talk about it when you get to the interview. Peer-reviewed online publication, non-peer-reviewed. If you have that, go ahead and put it on here. And then certification. So now you're going to certify that everything is correct. And when you do certify, you are going to submit. Now, very importantly, you need to note that when you submit, you cannot change anything on here. So when ERAS opens on June 9th, you have until June 9th till whenever you submit to go in and keep on editing. Now, June 9th, you can start filling in stuff. When you fill in, you save, you keep on saving, right? Once you certify and submit, you cannot change anything on here. If you made a mistake with your English, you cannot change it. Typographical errors, that's very important. So before you submit, you want to go ahead about your application, review it. You can save and download the PDF so that you can review every line and ensure that your English is correct. Typographical errors can be very annoying to someone going through your CV. So save it out and go through it correctly. Ensure that the information you put on there is true. Ensure that you were able to capture your full experience. So work experience, you want to write out what you learned, you want to write out what you're able to do, you want to write out what you achieved, right? If at the end of it, you did a presentation, at the end of it, you came out the best in something, your group came out the best, you want to write it out there in the description. So everything, you want to go through it over and over again before you submit. You can also have people go through it as well to ensure that everything is correct before submission. Once again, once you certify and submit, you cannot change anything. Now, certifying and submitting is very different from actually applying to the programs, right? Once you certify and submit this, it means your CV is ready, right? So when you want to apply, you're going to attach your CV, your personal statement, your MSPE, your letters of recommendation to each program, to every single program before you click submit. And of course, once you've submitted, you cannot change that. The only thing that you can change is, you can add an additional letter of recommendation to your program. You can do 3 to 4. Most programs request for 3 letters of recommendation. The max is 4. So if you have 4 letters of recommendation, you can go ahead and add it. If a letter of recommendation comes in November, you submitted or comes in October, you submitted in September, you can go ahead and add that letter of recommendation in there to all the programs. So that's basically what you can change at that time. Yeah, then you also add in your picture. Your picture also goes in there as well. So now it's also the time to take a very good picture, a very good profile picture for your application. So that is it.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ochiko. That was so expensive.
Very much.
Yeah, thanks, Ochiko. I have a question. So, I think Neka talked about like CVs. Do those go into the same, like what you just displayed, or do you submit your CV in a separate portal, or do you just copy and paste from your Microsoft Word document to the ERAS portal itself?
Yes, so you can actually copy and paste, right? So what you'll be copying and pasting mostly is the work description. So you can copy and paste. And just know that sometimes the template messes up with the alignment. So you want to ensure that, that is set. You can choose to, so work experience, the description part, you can choose to just do enter, and type in the next thing. Or you can also have your points as bullets as well. So you can copy and paste in there, but just ensure that the alignment works well at the end of the day.
Okay, awesome. So we have lots of questions in the chat. I'll try to go through all of them before it's 2:30. The first question is, I applied, Akin is saying he applied in the last cycle. Is it the same ID number for that use for this cycle? Okay, essentially, I think what he's trying to say is, would he be using the same ID number that he used for the last cycle?
Yes, I cannot remember if it's the same ID number, but I know that ERAS would save your details, so it kind of helps if you've applied before. I don't think it's the same ID number, but your details will be on there. So when you go again this cycle and pay the money, your work experience from last year would already be saved. Letter of recommendation would already be saved if you want to use them again. But people do advise to get recent letters of recommendation.
Okay, thank you. And Esther is asking for observership. What do you put? Do you put work experience or volunteer?
Oh, observership is work experience. So work experience is your clinical or teaching experience. That is your work experience. So observership is work experience.
All right, thanks. And Oluwatayo is saying, can one add certificate courses as part of education?
So the education portion on there has your medical education. No, it will not have the option for, it has higher education and medical education. Now, where certificate courses can come in is as work experience because it is a clinical training. Or if it was a clinical experience, then that's when it will come in. So between June and July, you were doing work experience in American Heart Association as this, supervisor was this, and then in your description, you can now describe you learned this, you were able to do this, you acquired that.
Okay, perfect. Does anyone have questions? I think Mercy wanted to ask something and she had her hands raised. Is she still here?
Yes, I am here. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to clarify something. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead and ask, please.
Okay. Well, the last section, I actually applied, and I applied in a hurry. I didn't really get prepared because I didn't have my particulars per se were not really okay. So this time around, I tried to update a lot of things in my application. I'll soon complete my Part 3 USMLE, and I actually started working as a research assistant. So this time around, how do I couple this? How do I incorporate this research assistant job for it to really improve my CV? Like for instance, I know one can write review charts. I actually work as a review personnel. I review the charts for some of the projects we are working on. So I want to ask, what else can I do right now to really improve my application for this next cycle? Because last year it was really unfortunate. I didn't really have any interview, and my scores are not really they're not really low anyway. But people were just wondering why I didn't have any interview. So I think something terribly might have gone wrong in my application that I don't know. And I also want to ask, do we have any group in Kainji where they can review our CV or personal statements? Thank you.
So yeah, I'm gonna jump in here. Hi, this is Nefer. Hello, Messi. Thanks for speaking up and voicing your concerns and everything. It's not very easy when you apply for residency and you're not matched and you have to reapply and everything, like the whole nostalgia and the whole PTSD that comes with it. So it's not very easy. So I really must applaud you for making steps to get yourself on track. So everything is really much on a case-by-case basis. Everyone's application is really talking to them personally and trying to find out where they can improve. But I'll just give, general opinions on how we can improve our application for the next application season. I'll be more than happy to talk to you personally if you want to talk about yourself, how you could tailor your application. So some of the things to note if you're going to apply this year and you had applied before, some of the things you can make changes are: one, if you haven't written step 3, this is a great time for you to write step 3 because you're coming in with an addition, something that was not on your application before. And this opens you up to some programs who are interested in individuals who have step 3. We have those programs for sure. For example, like Morehouse, I think they want you to have like step 3 before they can rank you and everything. So you're opening yourself up to more programs that would prefer a candidate with step 3 over someone who is not, especially as an older grad. Then for letters of recommendation, I don't know if you had an opportunity to, have an idea on what were written on your letters, because they also play a great role. If you're not very confident about the letters that were sent in for you the last cycle, this is the time to look for new letters or talk to your letter writers to update and improve on the existing ones, because you want your letters to bring out the best part of you, to bring you out as a very strong candidate, to bring out qualities that make you stand out from someone else. So if you're not very confident about your letters, this is the time to make those changes, to get new letters uploaded that are really focused on your strengths, and also to get specialty specific letters. If you're applying for example, you're applying to FM or IMP, to whatever you're applying to, try to get letters from people in that specialty as well, because it goes a long way to boost your application. So if those things were not in place, you could also work on them, try to improve your letters, get very strong letters, try to get specialty specific letters as well. Then we're going to talk about the CV. The CV is a continuous process. So for the fact that you applied in 2020, when you're bringing in your So when you're submitting your application, you need an updated CV, something that reflects what you're doing now. So you don't want your prior CV to just be the same thing you submit this time. So it's good you're doing something now, in terms of research. The great thing about being a research assistant that you get to work on projects. So hopefully you might release, some papers or work with some other people and be part of the paper or some other things, which you're going to include in either your publications or posters or whatever that's going to be. And at times it gives you opportunities to work with the the EMRs, which you could also reflect as well. Also gives you opportunity to network with other people, because a lot of people have gone through research pathway and made it into residency. So therefore, do not downplay that. Try to also discuss with people who've done a lot of research before matching into residency, and how well you can put that on your CV. But if you're also going to be releasing papers, that's like a big plus, which will make you attractive for sure. And then another good thing I want us to focus on, especially if you're an old grad, is networking. Look back at some of the people you worked with last year who have gotten into programs, who have matched. These are people who are going to be able to advocate for you, because probably you knew them when you guys were all going through the same process. Talk to them, let them be able to lend an ear, help in their program if they're able to get them to put in a word for you, also help you through this application process, to review your CV and all those things. So networking for sure is definitely something you need to expand a lot more. I feel like you really need to do more on that, since you're already taking your step 3, you're working right now on your CV, trying to get research done and everything. You could work on your LORs and networking. And I don't know what your personal statement was. And yes, Kainji has a platform for that. Dr. Orr has been so amazing, and he has really spearheaded everything and has divided this into factions where Kainji members are able to review CVs as well as PS, but the key is submitting yours early once they start requesting for that, so you're able to get timely feedback, not really at the last minute. So you might want to update those changes, give it to people who you feel give you very good feedbacks, and see areas you could work on. And also check for new programs, newly accredited programs. I know a friend of mine who just matched after the whole match process. Sorry, she got a position. She didn't match, but she just got a position a few weeks ago by looking out for those newly accredited programs. So, those are some of the things we can all do in general, but is really much on a case-by-case basis. And at times you might want to speak to someone if you're really looking for specific pointers in your own application. But these are like general points that can just help us get stronger for the next application.
Thanks so much, Neka. And I just want to point out that what Ochiko reviewed, we would be going through that throughout the entire series. We know this is a lot to kind of take in just in one sitting. So have your questions. Once you get your ERAS token and you have questions, put them down, attend these meetings and ask people who are knowledgeable. We would go through all of these things as the sessions progress. Does anyone else have
Hello.
questions? We're approaching the
Yes,
end of
good evening.
yeah.
Good evening. Please, I want to ask a question. I'm going out from Nigeria. What are the guidelines for writing a credible CV? And that is my first question. My second, what are the
What
guidelines
for?
writing a credible CV
Okay.
for ERAS application? Yes. And my second question goes thus. For me, I'm a rheumatologist. I have a diploma course in rheumatology apart from residency training I had. So where does that fit in my application? Where do I fill in that information? Is it in the higher education or work experience? Where does that fit in exactly?
Thanks, Binga. Ochiko, Neka, over to you.
So I'm going to talk about hi Binga. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Sure.
For your
Thank you.
yeah. So for your room, I think that's going to go into your work experience. I mean, that's great. You have that because the graduate experience which they have on the ERAS is more specific to, EOA or AMA accredited institutions. So I think those ones are more specific to those who trained in the US. But I mean, anyone could correct me if I'm wrong. But if you did have your residency training outside US, that's going to also feature in your work experience since that was outside US. And definitely, if you go for an interview, that's going to be an opportunity to shine on that because probably someone might see that and ask you about it, and that will be an opportunity for you to speak more about what you've done as a rheumatologist back home. And you did ask a question that what are the guidelines for writing a good CV?
Yes.
Some of the I know there were some, when we're applying, there were some prior ones which had been shared on the group. I mean, I could share some of these other tips on our, either the Telegram group or the WhatsApp group board. Some of them still remain, the same thing is like the main thing, which is in sections, you have to talk about getting things in very little or no grammatical errors, putting in your words with action verbs, trying to be as succinct and getting to the point directly instead of writing large volumes with no, really just going around. So I would try to share one of these links, which is just the general guideline to writing good or successful CV. But overall, it's just keeping it direct to the point, using action verbs, I'm using the right sentence, everything. But I'll go ahead to share one of those just links to get a good CV.
Thank you so much, Neka.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. So we're approaching the end of the meeting. We have I think we are already past the time actually. I know Emeka mentioned something about not needing ECFMG certification before one can apply. And if he's still here, I would like him to clarify, how that works quickly. And then we can wrap up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Well, so the thing is, I think the emphasis actually, especially this early in the season, should be to have everything ready, including your ECFMG certificate. But in the situation where you don't have your, ECFM certificate, let's say you took your final, let's say you took your CK mid September, right? And your certification, your result is not out yet. Or let's say you took it early September and your result is out, but then you're waiting for the certification and it's not out as at 29th, which I heard is the date for the part of this season. That shouldn't make you not to send in your application if every other thing is ready. I think you should go ahead and just send in your application immediately, and then when the certificate comes out, that can always be updated. Why I say that is because when I try to research programs during this last season, most programs will tell you, for international students, either they need their certification as that what's it called, as that before you're matched or before July 1st, which is the residency start date. So getting that certificate shouldn't be something that would make you not to send in your application. The most important thing you need to do for yourself is to have a complete application already in the system, ready to go, if possible, submitted before that 29th. Because when the programs download these applications, they have, let's say a program is looking for, and this is a very, 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 legit scenario. A program has 10 slots and they want to interview 400 people for those 10 slots and they get 5,000 in the applications on that first day. Nobody's going to go back to look at you to look for more applications to review if you submit your own late. This is something I also experienced. Happened to me. I had several applications sent in, over 170. I didn't get one interview because nobody saw my applications, until I did some advocacy and then got my application reviewed, and I got interviews. So the most important thing you can do for yourself is the thing that will crown all the effort you've been putting in and all the money you spend is to make sure the application is ready to go and submitted before that 29. Just give yourself like target of 1 week or 2 weeks before that time, because they also mentioned some of these things like your letter of recommendation. It takes time for it to be after your writer uploads it takes about, on average, it's about 5 days. But believe me, when it gets closer to the ERAS opening date, that it becomes maybe 10 days to 2 weeks before it gets verified by ERAS and made to reflect on your application. So you don't want to have all those things coming in late because they will delay your application. You get, so that's the point I was trying to make there. And also, I know this is quite early in the season. Most people are applying for the first time now. A lot of the information, a lot of what has been said today is so golden that you may not really know the importance of them. So what I would say is, even if you don't catch everything today, you're still, maybe if not taking your step one, if not taking step two, but you still have plans of applying. This stuff will be recorded. Keep it. Make sure you go back to it and listen again as you start those processes, because there's so many things you think you may have missed today that will make more sense to you when you actually get into the process. Yeah, so that's the point I wanted to make about the ECFM certification.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Amazing. I want to just take the time to thank all of our speakers today. Nneka, Tinu, Ochukwu, Emeka. You guys have done such an amazing job. We are so grateful to have you here today. And to everyone who joined, we would have more of these sessions. Join us, ask questions that you have, and Kainji is here to support as many people as everyone who seeks for help. So I guess we should end the meeting. We are 15 minutes beyond the end time. So thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you.
Brenda.
Yeah.
Hi, Brenda. Can you just go over the meetings that we have in June?
Okay.
Meetings in June. Yes, so that before we put it out, so people can have it.
See, so we have a second meeting coming up on the 13th of June, but that's for surgery, people interested in surgery. Then we have the next ERAS session on the 19th of June, also at, is it 12 or 1? I thought it was 12, but anyway, we would send out the Zoom link before the meeting time. And then there's a radiology/oncology meeting on the same day, so on the 19th of June, for those interested in radiology oncology. And then we have pathology also the following day on the 20th. We have 2 more ERAS sessions. The one coming up in June is for, I think, personal statement focus. Then we have another one for letters of recommendation and a third one for CV. So yeah, those are the ones we have lined up right now. As time progresses, we would schedule some for going over your interviews and like what you should say, what you shouldn't say, how you should present yourself during the interviews and so forth. So yeah, Ochukwu, if there's anything I've left out, please feel free to chime in.
Yes, there's also going to be psychiatry mentoring meeting. That's going to be next Sunday, June 13th. That is at 2:30 p.m. ET. We would have the links for all these meetings by the end of today. So if you are interested in a specialty and you do not see a meeting for that specialty, please reach out to Brenda. We'll be able to organize meetings. We're trying to have, as much as possible, all specialties hold a mentoring meeting to be able to guide applicants on what they need to get to make it for this match, to apply, and all that. So thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice rest of your day. Thank you, Neka.
Thank you all. Hi, Becca.
Bye.
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 Okay.